Going to learn how to do reverse coding in SPSS. One reason that you may need to use reverse coding is if the original scale had negatively worded items mixed in with positively worded items. One example of this in our Repro Health study is the brief resiliency scale. So here are two questions from the brief resiliency scale. The first one says, I tend to bounce back quickly after hard times, and you can see that there's a Likert scale for participants to either strongly disagree or strongly agree with the degrees in between. That would be a positively worded item. This BRS2 variable you can see is a negatively worded item. It says, I have a hard time making it through stressful events. So as you can see here, the person who may select 1 for this item and 1 for this item kind of coincide with each other. And so we have to reverse code that. So here I have a little excerpt from the original measure development that shows us how to reverse code and then eventually score this scale. So as you can see, we have to reverse code items 2, 4, and 6. We actually are only going to reverse code 2 and 4. So I'm going to go in to SPSS and select transform. Unlike the simple scoring that we did with the locus of control scale, I'm going to select recode into different variable instead of compute variable. The reason for this is because we have to create new variables with the reverse score in order to then sum them. I always want to select recode into different variables and never recode into same variables. If we selected recode into same variables, we would overwrite the original variable, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep all of the raw scores. So I select recode into different variables, and here I'm going to pull over the variable that needs to be reverse scored. And I'm reminded by this excerpt that we are reverse coding 2 and 4. So I scroll down to find BRS2, and I just pull that over. So here, because we're coding it into a different variable, this question mark indicates that we need to rename the new variable something. I'm going to call it BRS2R. Then I click change, and I go down here to old and new values. So what we need to do is make every strongly disagree into a strongly agree, essentially, because it's negatively worded. And so there's only 5 options on this scale. So I'll just, in the old value box, select 1, and then the new value will be the reciprocal of that, so 5 in this case. And I do that for all. And because 3 is in the middle and it's a neutral response, it's going to stay the same. So I did this, and now I have to do the opposite. So anyone who's reported a 5 is going to now be a 1. Anyone who reported a 4 is now going to be a 2. And the 3 stays the same. So then I just click continue. And the great thing about the way this dialog box is that now I can just pull in the second one and change that to BRS4R. And these are all already here. I was just double checking. So if we scroll down in variable view, we can see that, whoops, my computer's losing it. We can see that these 2 were made. And then we would just use the same process that we watched the video on simple adding codes in order to get the final score, keeping in mind that with this scale, you have to, instead of adding 24, you have to find the mean. So I hope that